Have you ever sacrificed something for your dream? Some people will give up everything for a chance at success. For 26-year-old Vera Kravtsova from Belarus, her dream of becoming a successful artist led her down a path she never could have imagined. She was a promising singer and model who left her home and family for what she believed was her big break. Her family supported her every step of the way, until one day she vanished. Her last message said she was in Thailand. Then her family received a call that would change everything. Someone told them Vera was dead in Myanmar. The caller demanded money to return her body, but when the family tried to negotiate, they received devastating news. Vera had allegedly been cremated and her organs sold. So what really happened to Vera? Let's take a look. So who was Vera? Vera Kravtsova was born on December 31st, 1998 in Minsk, Belarus. Friends described her as hardworking, kind, and maybe a bit naive. She had a friendly nature and trusted people easily. Born with a passion for the arts, Vera attended music school where she learned to sing and play wind instruments. In 2017, she performed at a local singing competition at the Burlesque Club in Minsk, a show styled after the Voice format, though not part of the official international franchise. Although she didn't achieve major success from that performance, she still made a name for herself and was known by many as a talented and kind young woman. After graduating from university, Vera moved to St. Petersburg, Russia, where she worked as a freelance model. She was ambitious and adventurous. She'd previously traveled to Vietnam, China, and Indonesia, building her modeling portfolio. Her Instagram showed a vibrant young woman with professional photo shoots, tattoos, and big dreams. Her parents were incredibly supportive. Her mother would comment on her posts, calling her the most beautiful girl in all of China. But like many aspiring artists, Vera struggled to break through. She took whatever job she could get, working in cafes and hopping between gigs, always hoping for that one opportunity that would change everything. In September 2025, that opportunity seemed to arrive. Vera received an email from someone claiming to be a modeling agency. "Dear Vera, we would love to offer a collaboration as a model for our latest collection." They promised a luxury brand partnership, a chance to represent their image. And this was exactly what she'd been waiting for. The supposed agent asked her to fly to Thailand for a test shoot. Vera had doubts. Who wouldn't? But the dream of standing on stage as a successful model pushed her forward. So, in September 2025, she left Belarus, promising her family she'd make them proud. On September 12, 2025, Vera arrived at Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi airport. Thai immigration records confirm she entered Thailand alone through the automated checkpoint. For the next 8 days, she remained in Bangkok, and her family kept in contact with her. But here's where things get murky. Thai police have been very clear about one thing: Vera was not kidnapped in Thailand. On September 20th, 2025, at 7:20 a.m., she voluntarily boarded Thai Airways flight TG301 from Bangkok to Yangon, Myanmar. Security footage shows her passing through the checkpoint alone. Thai authorities say whatever happened to Vera happened after she left their country. So was she deceived into thinking the job was in Myanmar? Did she believe she was meeting contacts there? We don't know. What we do know is that once she arrived in Yangon, everything went wrong. After landing in Myanmar, Vera found herself in the hands of traffickers. Her passport and phone were taken immediately. With no identification and no way to call for help, she was transported to one of the notorious scam compounds near the Myanmar-Thailand border. These aren't small operations. They're massive criminal enterprises run by Chinese crime syndicates working with local militias. Vera had been sold. Trafficked victims are worth between $14,000 and $20,000 to these operations. The compound where Vera allegedly ended up was nothing like the modeling agency she'd been promised. These places are essentially modern-day slavery camps. So imagine sprawling complexes with hundreds of buildings surrounded by fences, watchtowers, and armed guards. From the outside, they look almost like business parks. Inside, it's hell. Workers are forced to operate 16 to 20 hours a day, running online scams. The rooms are barely ventilated, with barbed wire over the windows. There's constant surveillance, and the punishments for not meeting quotas are brutal. Beatings with iron rods, electric shocks, starvation, isolation in dark rooms. For Vera, her task was to be pretty, take pictures, and flirt with men on the internet. With her attractive appearance and blonde hair, she was forced to create profiles on dating apps to lure victims. But aside from creating the initial attraction, she was also given a more sinister main task: to manipulate these men into investing in fraudulent cryptocurrency schemes. The investments were far from legitimate, mostly involving fake crypto apps that look convincing but are completely controlled by the scammers. This is essentially what's known as pig butchering. You fatten up the victim with affection and trust, then slaughter them by taking everything they have. Vera herself had to work under immense pressure. If she didn't meet her daily target, often requiring her to extract thousands of dollars from victims, she faced beatings and abuse. But physical violence wasn't the worst consequence. Those who failed repeatedly faced even more severe punishments. They could be sold to another scam center under worse conditions, or worse still, allegedly sold to organ trafficking networks. At first, Vera had limited, heavily monitored access to communication, but any sign she might report what was happening, and that privilege would be cut. On October 4th, 2025, all contact with Vera stopped. Her family heard nothing for weeks. Then came the ransom demand, $500,000 to get Vera back alive, or, according to other reports, to return her body, as she was already dead. Her family was devastated. They tried desperately to raise the money but couldn't gather such an enormous sum. They reached out to embassies seeking help through diplomatic channels. They attempted to negotiate. And that is when the captors delivered their final message. Vera was dead. They claimed her organs had been sold and her body cremated. There was nothing left to return. But here's the critical detail. These claims have never been officially verified. The Belarusian Foreign Ministry states that Vera is listed as missing, not confirmed dead. Some experts believe the death claims could be an extortion tactic. By telling the family she's already dead and cremated, the criminals eliminate hope of rescue while potentially extracting money for supposed information or remains. But here it's important to note that ransom releases do happen. Just months before her case, a Chinese man named Huang was freed after his family paid $48,000, and a Taiwanese dancer was released for $30,000. So there are cases where paying the ransom brings people home safely. However, if the reports are true, Vera's situation is heartbreaking because her family simply couldn't raise the $500,000 being demanded, which is significantly higher. In these operations, when victims can't generate profit through scams and families are unable to pay, the captors face a grim calculation. Keeping someone alive costs money, while, and this is difficult to say, organs have significant value on the black market. The captors claim that she's already dead and cremated is particularly troubling because it suggests they've moved past the ransom phase entirely, either because they gave up on payment or because there's nothing left to ransom. Officially, the Belarusian government still lists Vera as missing, not deceased, and without physical evidence, we cannot say with absolute certainty what happened to her. But given the 3-week silence since October 4th, the specific nature of the captors' claims, and what we know about how these compounds operate, there is sadly a high probability that Vera did not survive. Her family continues to search for answers, and we can only hope that somehow there might still be a chance she's alive. To understand what happened to Vera, you need to understand the massive criminal infrastructure she allegedly became trapped in. The Myanmar-Thailand border region has become notorious for these scam compounds in recent years. These aren't just buildings, they are small cities complete with banks, hospitals, restaurants, and housing for operators. But behind the walls and armed guards, tens of thousands of people are forced to work as modern slaves. According to the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, the number of scam centers along the Thai-Myanmar border has exploded from 11 compounds in 2021 to at least 27 today. That is a 145% increase in just 4 years, following Myanmar's military coup in February 2021. These compounds have been expanding at an average rate of 5.5 hectares, about 13.5 acres, every single month. Why the explosion? After the coup, Myanmar's military junta needed money and militia loyalty. With natural resources declining and foreign investment fleeing due to sanctions, they allowed these criminal operations to flourish. The scam industry has become what experts call an existential lifeline for the regime. One of the most notorious is KK Park, spanning 210 hectares, which is about 520 acres. It looks like a tech campus from above, but it's actually one of the world's largest fraud factories. Just recently, on October 20th to 21st, 2025, Myanmar's military raided KK Park and arrested 2,198 people. They also seized 30 Starlink satellite internet terminals. Those Starlink systems are crucial. After Thailand cut power and internet to border areas in February 2025, trying to shut down the compounds, the criminals just switched to satellite internet. Starlink, owned by Elon Musk's SpaceX, isn't even officially licensed in Myanmar, but hundreds of terminals have been smuggled across the border. For several months in 2025, Starlink actually became Myanmar's biggest internet provider, not because of legitimate users, but because of those criminal operations. And the scale is staggering. The United Nations estimates over 200,000 people have been trafficked into these operations across Southeast Asia. Myanmar alone holds between 100,000 and 120,000 people in these conditions. They come from over 60 countries: China, Vietnam, Philippines, India, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and even African nations like Ethiopia, Kenya, and Uganda. The UN estimates these operations generate tens of billions of dollars annually. And of course, Vera isn't the only recent victim. Just months before her case, a 19-year-old Chinese man named Huang became international news. In October 2024, Huang met a 17-year-old girl named Zhou at a billiards hall in Guangzhou. He fell hard for her. Zhou claimed her family had investment businesses in Myanmar and convinced Huang to travel to Bangkok with her in February 2025. On February 2nd, at the Thai-Myanmar border, Zhou sold Huang to a scam compound for 100,000 yuan, which is about $14,000. Armed men confiscated his passport and phone, but Huang managed a quick move. He begged Zhou to let him use his phone briefly, and she agreed. In those precious seconds, he sent a message to his family: "Help me, they're taking me, Myanmar." Huang was taken to a compound called Kaixuan. His head was shaved, and he was forced to work 16 to 20 hours daily on phone scams. When he failed to meet targets, and he failed often, having no experience in fraud, he was beaten brutally. He was hit with iron rods and slapped so hard, he permanently lost his hearing. He lost over 10 kilograms. The torture lasted 4 months. Finally, with the help from the Chaoshan Chamber of Commerce in Myanmar, His family negotiated his release for 350,000 yuan, about $48,000. According to the scammers, he was underperforming, so they were willing to let him go. Huang returned to China at the end of June 2025, physically and psychologically scarred. His girlfriend, Zhou, was arrested and now faces up to 10 years in prison for human trafficking. In February 2025, following pressure from China after several high-profile cases, a massive rescue operation took place. Thailand cut power, internet, and gas to 5 border towns in Myanmar. The Karen Border Guard Force, a militia controlling the Myawaddy region, allowed people to leave the compounds. Over 7,000 people from more than 29 countries were evacuated. But rescued is too generous a word for what happened next. These 7,000 people ended up trapped again, this time in overcrowded temporary camps. The conditions were appalling. In one facility, 800 people shared just 10 toilets. In another, 450 people shared only 2 toilets while sleeping on concrete floors. They received small portions of food twice a day. Medical care was almost non-existent. But getting home proved incredibly difficult. These people came from dozens of countries, and not all governments were willing or able to help. Of the first 260 people released, 130 were from Ethiopia, which doesn't even have an embassy in Bangkok. Some African countries said they'd only arrange flights if someone else paid. Of 4,800 Chinese citizens identified, only 600 were repatriated in the first weeks. Vietnamese citizens faced an additional heartbreak. According to Radio Free Asia, approximately 215 Vietnamese remained stranded months later, with their embassy requiring them to pay between $385 to $575 for repatriation, money they didn't even have after months of forced labor. By May 2025, hundreds still remained in these camps. 3 months after being rescued, they were still trapped, uncertain when they'd go home. Satellite imagery from August and September 2025 shows construction continuing at KK Park and other compounds despite raids and international pressure. New buildings are going up. When pressure increases in one area, operations simply move deeper into Myanmar or relocate to areas under different militia control. So it's basically a game of whack-a-mole. The sophistication keeps increasing too. These operations now use artificial intelligence to generate personalized scam scripts. They create deepfake videos. They operate fake cryptocurrency platforms that look remarkably professional. They study psychology and track everything in spreadsheets. Which approaches work best? Which nationalities are more susceptible? How long to maintain contact before pitching the investment? So if you or someone you know gets trapped, contact your embassy immediately. Organizations like Active Mercy International and Justice for Myanmar work on these cases. Try to note your location, compound name, and people in charge. For Vera Kravtsova specifically, her family continues searching for answers. The Belarusian Foreign Ministry confirms they're working with authorities in Thailand and Myanmar, coordinating with honorary consulates in Yangon and Bangkok. But without a body, without ashes, without physical evidence, it's impossible to say what really happened after October 4th, 2025. These questions haunt her parents and friends. They post tributes on her social media, remembering her smile, her dreams, her kindness. They refuse to give up hope entirely, yet they grieve without closure. The uncertainty may be worse than knowing. At least certainty allows mourning and healing. Vera's case has opened many eyes to the scale of human trafficking in Southeast Asia. Her story represents thousands of similar stories that never make the news. For every Vera whose case goes viral, countless others vanish in silence. Each statistic represents a human being, someone's daughter, someone's son, friend, someone with dreams and vulnerabilities who believed they were making a smart career move, only to find themselves trapped in unimaginable circumstances. Solving this requires action on every level. Tech companies must take responsibility for platforms used to recruit victims. Governments must prioritize victim repatriation and make it free for trafficking survivors. International cooperation must improve. This needs coordinated multinational pressure, not fragmented individual efforts. In this day and age when job opportunities remain scarce and young people face uncertain futures, we can only be careful and thorough. Do your research before accepting opportunities. Talk to your family and friends about these risks. Make sure everything is verified as safe and legitimate. If a promise seems too good to be true, it probably isn't real. Our hearts go out to Vera and every victim of human trafficking. We hope justice will be served. We hope international pressure and growing awareness can eventually dismantle these operations. We hope no other family has to endure the agony of not knowing if their loved one is alive or dead. So what do you think about this case? Have you encountered fake job vacancies that seem too good to be true? Have you heard about human trafficking in your area? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story could save someone else from the same trap. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.